Okay, so today's lesson is the A in the call method, and that is acknowledging. This is arguably going to be one of the harder Zooms that I'm going to do with you guys. And it's because if you know me for a while, you know this to be true. But if you're new, you're just going to find out. I don't like ever being the type of coach that tells you to do something. It is not my nature. It is not my nature to try and correct something if I see it happening, but it is also the nature of my job to do well by you guys to be able to point these things out. So I want you to know before I get into this might be my own anxiety, is that all you guys usually tell me I'm not even all that tough love when I'm tough love. But this is a harder topic, but it's coming from absolutely from a place of wanting to help and thinking that every single one of you guys is not only capable, but deserving of feeling better. So keep that in mind. And if it encourages some hard feelings, I absolutely want to talk to you about it privately with zero offense taken. I'd be glad for the conversation to be started. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. We have to acknowledge when we F up. And here's the thing though, you guys watching this, you might be like, I have no problem acknowledging when I F up. Like I will tell you, I'll kick my own ass when I mess up. Who here is from that camp where you'll do just fine beating yourself up, for the both of us? You have no problem admitting if you've messed up. Sorry. I have to remember not everybody's from Jersey or has a mouth like this. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like not that many people think it's a groundbreaking concept, and those of you who are here who are like, oh, here we go, she's going to make me feel guilty. No, that is what I'm trying to really avoid. But here's the thing. There's so much information. So whether you're somebody who kicks your own ass or whether you're somebody who sweeps it under the rug because you're going to try harder tomorrow, it doesn't matter, right? It all has to do with taking the information from what happened. And if we feel any type of way about that, we can't. So if we're so afraid to take on the blame for messing up, for getting it wrong, for doing it wrong, we're going to miss all of the value in that data. And we're going to miss what could just be an answer that ends up being in our face. Like, hey, this is something you could change. I got to a point where I was so tired of saying, I'm trying, because I was, but I was trying to work hard, like work my way around facing what the hell was going on. Because I didn't want to take on the blame, even though I was awful to myself about it and I was scrutinizing myself about it. If I completely accepted the blame in entirety, it made it feel like I was accepting defeat, even though I felt defeated all the time. Anyone relate? It's just like a merry-go-round of crap. So it doesn't mean that we look at it when we mess up like, oh, I suck. It means we look at it like, where do I have to put my attention? Like, where do I have to improve? We can't be afraid to say it. Like, where do I have to improve? Where do I have to practice? Because that's a concept we miss as well. There's no such thing as practicing. It's just like we try to, if we hear something once, some convoluted diet tip, like number 37 of the day through scrolling through your friggin, feed. It's like, oh, damn it, I should have done that. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But if you're looking at something and it's making you realize like, oh, I realize that maybe I'm struggling here. Like I need to improve at this. There's absolutely nothing wrong. Arguably, that is the most valuable thing. The problem is that we include the self-shame. We include that part of I should have known. I heard it once and I should have known. And a good Zoom for reference, if you're watching this, if you're liking this message so far, is don't stop shoulding your pants. Or no, stop shoulding yourself. That's what it was. Stop shoulding yourself. It's in the classroom and the page. But self-love, a lot of times I've been the person to say, like, I'm a realist. Self-love is just too much, but self-love is knowing that we can mess up and still be just as wonderful and just as capable of trying again until we get it. That's self-love. Self-love is not you get one shot to get it, and if you screw it up, you suck. Nobody's perfect. I know that we all know that logically, but I think it's important to remind again and again and again and again because we do have such high standards for ourselves. So, managing adrenal disruption relies a lot on self priority. And it's very hard to do that because, unlike with food and exercise and the things that we've been programmed to prioritize as the most important for losing weight, for being healthy, for all that stuff, right? Managing adrenal disruption has a lot more to do with inconveniencing others, inconveniencing ourselves, taking longer to do things, not being as productive. It's how we can consider it. Can you guys, like, does that make sense? Now, acknowledging where we ourselves are messing up is key for managing adrenal disruption. Because if we don't recognize how minute the little habits in our day to day are that screw us over, whether it's coffee in the morning, whether it's taking on everybody's bullshit at work, whatever the case is, if we don't realize that these little intangible changes are even more important than eating the freaking chicken and kale, okay? If we don't realize that, we're just not going to get anywhere. So it has to start with us and not from a place of I suck, because who changes it? Like, who takes care of something they don't like? Nobody gives tender loving care and meticulous consideration to something they cannot stand. So we have to stop and we have to figure out where we're screwing ourselves over. Where am I messing up? Where am I refusing to look at? Again, this topic makes me vastly uncomfortable. So, but it's important. So we got to get into it. Okay. Here are some ways to figure out and acknowledge on our part without having shame, but rather drive to change what we're doing. Okay. So basically, here's the shit I see that screws everybody over that I need you all to stop doing, is what I'm saying. Okay. And it will make a huge difference. Number one, stop over scrutinizing lack of physical change, which sounds like a very convenient thing for me to say, right? It's not. People forget so often. I have fluctuated throughout the years. We all will. There is nothing on this earth that is going to keep you in the same exact size, looking the same exact way for the rest of time. That doesn't happen just because we want it to. Just because we see some like hag looking lady like face tune the shit out of herself. She don't even look like a human anymore. It's so blurred out. You know, like whether that's who you're looking at, you know, like, oh, well, I know her. She doesn't look that bad, you know, even with the filter. Whether it's some Instagram model that has a whole team of people primping them and changing their photos, you know, whatever the case may be, you cannot expect to have this consistency in what you're looking like and have that be indicative of how well you're doing or not. And I realize that that's so much easier said than done. That's also, to my next point of fluctuating over the years, is you're also talking to me years into being committed to believing this. Years. And it hasn't been because hard things haven't happened. You know, it hasn't been that I haven't had, you know, things that have thrown me off and made me not happy. Like I haven't been all self-love and peace the entirety, let's say, what now? Had CCA for about 5 years. And I had started therapy before that, you know, so it's not like, just remember that is you can't compare, such a cheesy saying, but like you can't compare, you know, your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 10, as hard as that is to do. And you can't trust shit on the internet. It ain't real. Okay. But stop measuring yourself and weighing yourself constantly. Why? Because you're not giving yourself time for anything to happen. You know, if you don't understand the mechanics behind how weight loss is happening to us, congratulations, no one does. Not even the freaking doctors do, apparently, right? None of y'all would have paid me if they did. Let's be honest. I'm not offended. I probably wouldn't be here if they did, you know? So at the end of the day, you gotta just give it a chance. And a lot of the rest of these things will, I hope, show you like, not I have so much work to do from a bad place, but I have stuff to do. I have things to work on, because if things are going to not go your way over the next several years, let's say, I mean, or forever, they're never going to get better, right? But let's just take the next several years. Say they never change, they never get better, whatever, and you're going to feel miserable. Or you can look at it in this perspective and spend that time like working towards it and finding value in yourself. I mean, those years got to pass anyway, right? What's a better experience? What's a better likelihood of you getting to a place of taking care of yourself? Being miserable because the numbers aren't continuously going down because you don't want to have a metabolic or a hormonal illness? That's not going to get you where you want to be. And again, I'm not saying anybody should feel holly jolly light about this. Like, this sucks. This is part of illness acceptance, though, is that it's like, no, it's not an illness that's like debilitating necessarily in a way that, you know, you might feel bad complaining about it. I know I used to, about PCOS and Hashimoto's. You know how many times I was like, well, it's not cancer. It's like a messed up thing to think, you know? But I hear it all the time. I hear it with clients that I'm working with, and I used to feel the same shit, you know? But at the end of the day, if we're over scrutinizing and needing those results to constantly be linear, then it's like trying to say that we just don't have a metabolic or hormonal illness. It is the unfortunate luck of the draw that those illnesses affect weight. And it's also unfortunate that unless people experience it, they don't know that shit. It's unfortunate that people who don't have chronic pain love to comment on chronic pain, right? But at the end of the day, you can't expect to be coming from a place of not having an extra hurdle or not having something different that you have to cater to. And it's not bad that you have to do that. Right on the other side of realizing how different things need to be for you is a feeling of peace around the fact that things have to be different for you. And again, years into the journey, I did not feel this strongly to say it so boldly when I first started beginning to take on this concept. I was still really sad. And I know Evie's talked a lot on like grieving the body you thought you had before illness. It's huge to do that. Even if you come to this thinking, I don't really need mindset all that much, you know, we all do, especially when we're not even really considering an illness an illness. That's huge. Next point here, look for excuses. Look for them. Stop trying to say like, I don't want to make excuses for myself. Why? You know how many times what you're saying is making an excuse for yourself is actually respecting the way your body operates? Stay on that one. It's not an excuse because you're not going to push yourself to the point of burning out for days on end. It's not an excuse if you literally are watching every bit of the 500 calories you put in your mouth, you're working out constantly and nothing's happening. These aren't excuses. These aren't things that you're just doing because like, why not? You know, like, so don't let the narrative of people who are too weak to understand what you experience, because truly, unless somebody has this kind of issue, they can't possibly understand how hard it is, right? No matter what issue it is, you just can't know unless you go through it, right? So stop letting people who literally have no idea how to fight your battle explain to you how hard you should be fighting your battle. So I've heard this bullshit my whole life. If it wasn't about health, it was about my weight. If I wasn't suffering to be thin, I was making excuses for myself. If I wasn't pushing myself to injury, I was, giving up. It was, it's just, if I was looking into a medicine or looking into a surgery, I was giving up on the natural, choice. All of these things that I let people have all these opinions about who did not live in my body and understand my own lived experience. I let them make me feel like I could not accommodate myself without feeling guilt or shame around that. I mean, they're not going to pay my bills. They're not going to like make me feel better. They're not going to crawl into bed with me. But yet they had the biggest chunk of how I held my own regard and the stress that I took on as a result. Find the easier way. And if you cannot find the easier way, you pay to be somewhere where we want to tell you the easier way. It's hard to understand exactly the hacks to give you guys, but that's why we say we want to know what you're struggling with, because that's when the hack is needed. So if the outcome that you want is the same, but your methods have to change in order to get to that outcome, who gives a shit? Who gives a damn, because it was easier for so-and-so to do it in a 3-step process. And yet for you, for your issues, it takes you a 4-step process, but you still get there and you feel good. Who gives a shit if it's different? So don't feel bad for making excuses. Be relentless in the pursuit of making your life easier, because it's only going to make the people you care about's life easier as a result. It's all going to make everybody like feel better. So don't let some bullshit, idea of discipline make you have a harder life experience than it needs to be. Go for the freaking easy. I'm blowing through these and then I'm going to try and get through the comments. I just have a lot. I think it's really important. I don't want to keep you guys here forever. So if there's something really, really important that you want like the group to see, put it in the chat. And if it's something really poignant, send it to me so that we can talk about, or Evie or anyone, so we can talk about it with you in depth after. I don't want it to get lost. Okay. So, but I love the dialogue, so keep it coming. All right. Stop making your own rules for shit with food. Some of you have been with me for a while. We have had this conversation. Maybe you need to hear it again. Maybe you're just going to smirk because you're going to remember where you started. But stop. I know it's really scary to go from having everything you think about be the food you eat and when you're going to eat and what you're going to eat and what's bad and what you did wrong and all the shit. I get it. And it's going to feel really unnerving to take what feels like a full-time job and just go quit, right? Without feeling like everything's going to fall apart. But when you quit a shitty job, do you not go out and like do everything you can to get a better job? And let's go back to diet terminology for a second here. I thought I was really clever with that whole other thing, but it was going to be a mess. So diet terminology. Let's say you try real hard. You do all the rules. You push because you want it done faster. If you know what to do, you're just going to do it, right? Why hasn't that worked yet? Why are you here? And I don't want that to come across like we don't know what the fuck you're doing. I mean it because I've been in that same whirlwind, because our intentions are good. We want to feel better. We want to not live like this. We want to know what the hell to do, but if we're trying to go full force for something that is still going to take a long time, whether you do 5 steps, whether you do 10 steps, it is a lot harder to maintain an overwhelming amount of changes than what you're naturally used to doing. It is very hard to stay consistent with that long term without so much stress that it screws you out of getting results anyway. So what's the point? The only reason it feels like that's awful is because that's where the mindset is that we got to work on. That's it. The mindset of I can still be doing what I got to do. I can still be doing it easily. I can still be doing it over a longer period of time. And it doesn't mean I'm failing because it's not so hard. That was a very huge concept for me to learn. I thought my method had to match how bad I felt. And I thought the harder I went, the faster everything I ever wanted would come true, because I still internally blamed myself for being in a situation I never asked to be in. So when we make a ton of rules with food, and now again, if you have a background with disordered eating, like this is such a deep and nuanced topic. Even for me, I'm scratching the surface of how this even applies to my past. So I don't want anyone to think I'm being flippant about saying, just stop with the rules bullshit. This is one of those topics where I really want to get into a more in-depth personal conversation about it, because this stops people so much more than they realize. It's not lack of a plan. It's not lack of knowing what to do necessarily. Like, of course, there might be the order of which, but like when you're on a diet, it's not that you don't do it. It's that everything is so overwhelming. There's a reason it falls apart, and it's not just you. So if it's going to do that anyway, why does it have to be so hard? Baby steps. You know how many times I have a client tell me that they're doing gluten-free, sugar-free, but they slipped up on carbs, but they were good most days. And yet their baby step was eat 1,200 calories. Or don't drink coffee. Or at least don't drink coffee 2 hours after waking. That's depending on how hard coffee is, how much of a part of your day caffeine is, but I'll ask them how often they do that. I'm getting better. How many of you have done this on a call? I love you, but I'm not calling anyone out because and all the time I've been doing this, it's a 50-50 shot. I hear this convo. I'm trying. I'm getting better. But they just told me that they just went and like, bought all this like newfangled, like, it's this fava bean that's supposed to help with neutralizing your hormones. And I got like 5 packages of this new pasta, and I'm going to give up pasta, and I'm going to give up, I'm not even going to really eat dinner, I think, like, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to do gluten free. And I think this has sugar in it. And I'm like, calories. Or you're like, I want them to stop and take a break, because I want them to see that if they just focused on that one thing, how surprising it would be that they would finally see something shift. And it feels so unbelievable, but has any of the believable stuff worked? And if you're saying it used to, then it hasn't worked. So, fuck it. Pardon my language. But honestly, stop making so many rules. There's no quick fix anyway. Okay. How did I write this? Okay. Oh, I think I just paraphrased this whole thing. That's great. Okay, I'm not your mom. I'm not your principal. I'm not your boss. I'm never going to get mad at you for eating something, drinking something, doing something wrong. I might get mad at you if you like tell me off and call me mean names. And even then I'll probably ask you where that's coming from. So you don't have to be guilty. You don't have to feel guilty. But when you text me after not talking to me for a week, or I texted you and I said, how's it going? And you're like, good. And then a week later, I feel so puffy with like 7 of the emoji faces. And then it takes me pulling teeth for a half hour before we can get to the point that you didn't hit those baby steps, let's say. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't want you to feel bad. I just want to know what we got to work on. The biggest thing is take away your own emotional, like, reprimanding of yourself. Take that out of it. We got this much time to do a lot of work. We ain't got no time for anybody to feel like I'm going to yell at them because they went and had like a slice of pie. I don't give a shit. I'll probably ask you if the pie was good. And then we'll talk tools for the future. Guess what? Because you have this forever. So my concern is, can you live with this forever? Not like, can I tell you not to eat pie long enough for you to lose 10 pounds? Let's see. Oh God, I hate this one. Okay. Acknowledge when you are telling yourself grand stories. I get caught up in this. So again, this is not coming from a place of like up here on my throne. I can see you people doing this. Like this is from I get it. And I still have to remind myself to this day. This is one of those forever tools. Okay. It is, and this has a lot to do with that verbiage. I might say it wrong every time. Love me anyway. But that video that I bumped up in the chats where I said, if you watch this and send your takeaways, you get extra entries for the meals of the month. That's a good one. Still go watch it. But we tell ourselves, like, let's say it's a bad day. It's easy for everything to get wrapped up in that. I had a busy week is not a reason that you didn't watch a Zoom. And I'm not saying it to piss anybody off, because I have to remind myself to do this with work. I have no structure unless I put one in myself, and structure is not my favorite. So, and I have a lot to do all the time. So it is really easy. While before I said, make excuses for yourself, make them when it's really hard, but be real with yourself when the hardest part was you not prioritizing it, because we're all guilty of it. None of us are perfect at it. We are all human beings that have different desires in the moment, that get tired, that get frustrated, get confused. There's a million things. So if we're not going to view that, like, I had a busy week really means I didn't make it a point to squeeze this in because I felt like I was maxed out. We're missing an opportunity for growth. We're missing an opportunity for improvement, which is the name of the game. Not that we have that problem in the first place, but that we get better from it. So I know I see half y'all on social media. So not to be mean, but I'm saying we're all guilty of it. And it's because it's the emotional timing, not the actual time. We have the time. Y'all take a shit. You sit in your car when the day's done. You can sit as you're eating and just listen to something. You've listened to something throughout the entirety of a day, throughout an entirety of a week. I have been in this club where it is easy to say, oh, I'm busy. It's not that you're any busier than average. It's that you're more spent than usual. And those are two different things. So look at what's stopping you and try to go around it in some fashion, some way. Like try to say like, okay, so I guess like if it's not on my mind the next morning, I forget about it. Well, put an alarm in, listen to it at night before maybe, I know this sounds like my nature is not to ask you to change anything for me, but this is for you. So I'm going to is maybe you change things around the next day so that you can stay up a little bit later on Sundays and catch the recording, as soon as this one's done, you watch the one from last week. Maybe you have a week lag, but you watch it on Sundays because it's a way to hold yourself accountable. Maybe you just stay up late, period. I can try and make sure that these recordings get up on Sunday if I have enough people commit to doing that. But whatever it is, ask for the help around it. Try to plan it out. If that doesn't work, ask us for help. But don't take it as like, unless my weeks are not busy, I can't invest the time in what could help me. Because then you're literally just like, drowning and someone's handing you a life vest and you're like, nah, I'm good. And drowning, so really think to yourself, like, what does stop me? How can I work around this so that I can still benefit from it, even on my busiest weeks? Okay. Let's see what else. All right. Please understand you really do have illness acceptance as part of this to succeed. I know it's even there's so many clients I can think of who are probably like, okay, all right, just tell me what to do. I used to be that way, but it is screwing you because it used to screw me too. And I don't want you to do that. So you cannot hold yourself to the same standard, like we said, no matter how much weight you lose, that's not forever. So let's say you find some magic boot camp bullshit that's in some diarrhea tea that's gonna get you to your dream Kylie Jenner weight, right? So you get there. No, we're Kendall. Is that I don't know. I don't give a shit about them. I like the older ones, but you know what I mean. It doesn't matter if you get there. You still have this illness. You do not maintain it. You do get symptoms again. And that's not something to feel defeated by. That is something to keep in your tool belt as something to remember, something to outsmart, something to not hold yourself to some unrealistic standard about, or make your life harder than it has to be, right? So to end this call, well, I have this one more point. I'm going to tell you guys my sushi and Prosecco story. And then I'm going to give you guys some baby steps around this. Okay. So, I had a vacation before the start of the pandemic. I went to Puerto Rico. We had empanadas. It was great. I have a policy. Don't go looking for the soggy, shitty bread at the table just because you're on vacation. There's no need. You don't even like it, right? But don't hold yourself back from enjoying the experience of being somewhere you rarely are, right? So when I love to go places that have cultural elements for food. I love food. So and it's funny, my appetite ain't an issue on vacation. So I enjoyed my week in Puerto Rico. We come back, Nick gets sick. A week later, I get sick. Shortly after that, the school shuts down because of COVID and we enter into lockdown. And now I knew this vacation was different. This was my first, I want to say, like really full on accepting illness kind of vacation. I didn't bring my makeup with me. I didn't really try to overdo it. I really just went to be a human being enjoying somewhere beautiful. That was it. That was my goal. So I knew as part of this that my protocol coming back home, I knew I would have symptoms because I was I was enjoying myself. And I knew that enjoying myself being reality, I would not be enjoying the aftermath, but I knew it was going to be, okay, get back to it. I did not expect to enter a pandemic when we came home. And now I was high risk. Nick was a teacher at the time. So everything was up in the air with that. I had like 80 different hormonal sick really scared, really anxious clients who I adore and want to help more than anything, who I am completely helpless to really ultimately keep safe. Everyone's freaking out. This tension is mounting. Everyone, it was just such a high stress period. And I'm an empath. I cannot, like, as hard as I have worked to block a lot out and to be able to do what I got to do when preserving myself, I don't think that, I think a lot of people who are professionals at that alone were tested at the beginning and throughout this pandemic. So rather than getting back to what I knew made me feel better, now that I'm back from vacation, you know, getting back to my own baby steps, really feeling good about it, which I plan to do, I said, I cannot possibly juggle everything. The grocery stores are a nightmare right now. I do not feel like going and arguing with some asshole about toilet paper so I can go buy a head of lettuce that looks like it's wilted. You know, like, I'm just gonna, for dinner, let's do sushi a couple times a week. We're fortunate enough to be in that spot where we could afford that. I have a lot of work to do. I was booking extra calls. I don't know if those of you who were with me during the pandemic, we went into like crisis mode, you know, like we were really trying to offer as much support as we could. And I said, I know I'm going to get symptoms back. I said, I'm going to try to not give a shit about them. I'm going to let it happen. And when they get disruptive, then we're going to make a plan to avoid this grocery issue so that I can still do what I know helps me feel better. Because when I thought about it, like I was just going to get, like, my skin was going to get messed up or my hair or whatever. Maybe I get a little chubby looking, you know. I didn't think I was literally going to get sick. I still was not really expecting that. But you combine the stress and everything else, I didn't fit in my clothes a week after getting home. None of them. The depression alone was terrible. Like Nick and I were fighting nonstop. My hair was like just in the drain, like constantly. It was that quick. I'm not immune. I'm not trying to make you guys immune. I'm just trying to show you how to know what the hell's going on with your body so you can see what's coming, what to do when it's happening, how to have forgiveness for yourself for this. It's not, I let myself go. Oh my God, I had some sushi and Prosecco a couple times a week when the world's ending. Like, you know, it's not my fault that my body reacts this way. Why am I going to take the brunt of that upset on myself? It makes no sense. I didn't expect it to be as intense as it was, but it was. I am that sensitive. So I said, okay, what can we do? I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to do what I know makes me feel better. However long it takes, it takes. It took me 9 months to get back to where I was body-wise before vacation. And I did nothing different after those maybe like 2-3 weeks of being more lax because of all of the initial stress of everything coming back, from 9 months from that period to get back to where I was. And I'm not saying that for any other reason besides I could have hated everything during those 9 months. I could have screwed myself out of being productive. I could have let my business fail. I could have let my symptoms get worse and self-sabotage and just stay in that rut because, oh my God, you know, I used to be a thin person with a freaking hula hoop on, you know, women's health, and I've let it all go to shit. Why? That's not us. I'm not out there eating, you know, friggin' Dunkin' Donuts munchkins all day long. Like, what's going on? You know, like I was doing everything I could. So what am I going to do? Hate myself? So again, I don't mean to like tell you guys these personal stories to have it be like you should be modeled after me. Everything I say is completely the same as what you're dealing with by any means. This might not relate at all to what you're dealing with, you know, but it's just in the name of transparency that we're going to have this bullshit the rest of our lives, right? So we might as well know how to deal with the ups and the downs and not hate ourselves in the in-between. I mean, hopefully there's not a pandemic again, but like, who knows? Who saw this shit coming? You know, so none of us. So, you know, next time, God forbid, I don't even want to, you know, I just talked about not attracting what we don't want. Hopefully life is nothing but a dream. But in the event that that's not the case, we should always know how to take care of ourselves. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of baby steps to remember, and I'm going to make sure that I copy and paste these into the comments. I have them all written out here. I'm going to copy and paste them right into the comments of the super recording so I don't forget. Remind me if I do. But stop saying what's difficult in emotional terminology or an emotional way. You do not need to put a sad emoji with it. You do not need to show that you feel remorse or that you feel shame. I don't care. I care that you're upset. I care that you're struggling. I care that we got to help you figure out a way to feel better. But there's nothing helps if you're coming to the situation like, I ate sugar, like I'm not feeling that way towards you. If you're feeling that way 100%, we need to talk about that. But don't come to it thinking that you need to be that way so that I understand how you're not happy about it or that you're trying. I already know you're trying. I already know all of you are trying, just being here. So I will not enter a conversation thinking that you're not putting effort in. I am literally here to troubleshoot. Okay. Stop taking pics or staring in mirrors for a while. How I was so okay with gaining weight, with having, being the coach that I am, teaching what I teach and having this happen at the beginning of the pandemic, I chose not to over scrutinize myself. I said, there is nothing I can do besides what I can do. So I can either stare every day at something like watching paint dry, hoping that one day I wake up and today's the day I notice a difference, or I could just do what the hell I got to do and avoid it. Y'all notice how many graphics I posted during that time? Notice a post I did in a garbage bag because I didn't feel like putting my clothes on for a picture because my clothes didn't fit. What is happening with this? I don't even know what I just did to this hair, but okay. Stop measuring for a while. Now, you might be saying, well, I need to check on the progress of what's working, what's not working. There are many ways to see what's working, and your measurements are going to change whether you're measuring or not. You catching one of your measurements going up an inch because there's something we got to work on if that's going to set you back a month in terms of stress, in terms of motivation, in terms of over scrutinizing, then it's not serving you any purpose. But understand that that's part of the process. Is maybe you don't have as many comparison photos to look at. Again, it's not failure. It's part of working on things. Now, I don't mean don't ever do pictures and measurements because you find them triggering. We do need to see what's going on, but don't be doing it more than the 4 weeks. And if it's triggering to you every 4 weeks, push it off a month. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. There's something there then. But either way, don't just continue to try to make the numbers make you feel better. That's going to disappoint you every time. There's still much more for us to figure out. Let's see. Stop adding baby steps. Stop it. If you're scared that you're going to gain weight because of something, then get to that baby step being consistent faster, and then we can change more stuff. But doing it in a way that you've known to do it until this point has been a dead end or screwed you over. So we got to throw it out. Lost my spot. Stop not looking for the better way. Always be looking for the better way for yourself. Better could be cheaper, better could be easier, better could be quicker, whatever the hell it is. But look for, not quicker with this, but you know what I mean, like cooking, let's say. But keep looking for the better way. If you find that you can't make a continental breakfast every day, congratulations, you're the majority of us. Let's figure out a better alternative that you can have ready made that doesn't also make you want to gag because you hate it. If you are dealing with, I don't know, let me think of the most creative problem I've had to deal with. It's not that creative, but I've literally had to recommend that couples sleep separately. Why? Because they refuse to go to a doctor about their snoring, and their snoring is literally keeping up my client who's got adrenal issues and is getting 2 hours of sleep combined. Well, you could either be awake and happy during the day and love each other and be great because you don't want to rip his head off, or and you get a few hours where you'll be apart anyway, asleep. So whatever it is, look for the better way. Outsmart the shit. And if you can't find that better way, to try out yourself and keep trying till you find that better way, lean on us for support. Stop thinking it's been okay mostly. Oh my God, I hear this all the time. And I always am the asshole. And sometimes I get proven wrong, right? Where I say, how's calories been? It's been okay mostly. What'd you have yesterday? How many calories you think you got? I'm pretty sure I hit above 1200. And we go and count it out. And then I'm counting it. I'm like, okay, so that caps us out at about 950. And then they're like, oh, now I have been wrong before and I have done that and everything's been on the up and up. And then we've had to look at other things. But do this first because it gives you clarity. It makes you a participating role in your journey, because you want to take it out of the feeling of, I hope this works, which makes it feel like it's luck. And you want to put it into, I got to make this work. So it's been okay mostly, but I'm noticing all my symptoms coming back. But without checking, is it really okay mostly? I have to do this. You don't think I've been checking and double checking since I found this friggin' pasta? This gluten-free pasta is life-changing. It ain't exactly carb friendly. So I really had to really look at things and juggle things around because I know it's a pain in the ass, yes, but it's a way to the life that isn't so much of a pain in the ass. So I do it, but don't fall into the it's okay mostly because you're afraid to check up and be like, well, what if I really have been screwing up? Screw up. It's glorious. It leads to fixing. It is a wonderful kick into the deep end, screw it. So I know I went over again, really trying to get us to that 45-minute mark. I know we're over because I talked about the challenge at first. And if you're catching up on this recording and you haven't checked out the little blurb on the challenge I did before this, that should be on the page too. So definitely check it out. But I hope this was helpful. I know I haven't been able to pay attention to the comments on such an emotional topic, but I feel like it would have really derailed all of the things I wanted to get to in this time together. So please don't let it go to waste. Please message me, Evie, Sophie, whoever, and let's start some open dialogue on this because I just kind of want to know where you guys are at, and I'm hoping that it's helpful. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye.